Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. Today I have a rock star on the show. His name is Tony Rodriguez. Stay with us. You'll want to hear this guy's story. Be right back. And we are back. Let me bring Tony on. Tony, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Happy to be here on the great Ken Walls show. Come on now. This is great.
Let's break through some walls, man. Let's break through some walls.
We all need a little bit more walls in our life, right? Well, we also got to knock down some walls, but that's not going to happen today.
Get over them, get under them, get around them, whatever we got to do.
Exactly.
So Tony, you and I have gotten to know each other much better via Clubhouse.
Indeed.
You live on there, don't you?
I don't. However, I do feel like I did in the beginning. In January and February, I spent a lot of time, especially in January. I came on probably the 3rd or 4th, but I didn't really come on until like the 7th or 8th. And I think that it's just such a powerful platform. Not only does it allow you to refine your story, but it allows you to connect with people that you haven't connected with in a long time. And it's still early on in the app that you can go in and establish your digital footprint. I was the guy that for both Facebook and Instagram, I held off for like 4 or 5 years. And then when you come in and you try to make a splash, now you're making a splash in the ocean as opposed to making a splash in a pond or a lake. So I did spend a fair amount of time in there, certainly in January, and then February still a lot. And then I've now much more strategic about it because I'm sure that there isn't one partner, one wife, one husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever out there that says, "Oh my God, I love that my partner, my spouse is on Clubhouse so much."
I know, man. It's Glenn Morshower and I did a room one day. He calls me. I don't know, it was like 4 p.m. or something. And we started a room and we didn't finish it until I think it was like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, dude, I'm texting him going, I'm leaving. So if you want to keep going, I gotta go. Anyway, yeah.
It is so good. And it's so true, because I host a room, Glenn and I happen to be in a lot of rooms together, yet the one that I host on Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern, the storytelling room with Dan Clark, whom you've met as well.
Yeah.
When Glenn comes in the room, people are like, uh-oh, I guess we're going late.
I know.
I think we did an 8 or 9 hour room one day, and it was completely unexpected. Yeah. Sometimes you get into it, and it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the audience and the community and the stories that they're sharing and how we're helping and pouring into them. They're pouring into us. It's such an incredible, chemistry, and it's such an incredible way of communicating that. This is pretty much, I'm still on the other social medias, but I'm posting there, but I'm spending time. The only place I'm really spending any significant time is on Clubhouse.
Yeah. It's, I'm telling you that I think it's very powerful, but I haven't spent as much time. But anyway, let's talk about something else, man. We spend enough time on Clubhouse that we don't need to be on here talking about Clubhouse.
True enough.
Besides, this is your life story, dude. So, why don't you start with telling everybody, and by the way, welcome to everybody watching. Thank you for being here. And please share this out with all of your friends and family. But so start with telling everybody where you were born and raised, Tony.
As I share to my social media as well, because I hadn't done that as we started speaking. So let me just go ahead and do that real quick as we go. Yeah, listen. So I was actually not born in this country. I came here as a kid. Let me just post one more site here. I came here as a kid from Portugal. I grew up in Portugal, and on March 28th, just before, about 3 weeks before my 6th birthday, my parents immigrated to the United States. And
wow.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, it was difficult. It was difficult.
So do you speak Portuguese?
I do. I like to say I speak Portuguese, Spanish, and a little bit of English.
You have zero accent, so
yeah, I've been here for quite a while. So
yeah.
it's been an incredible journey. It's been incredible difficult at times and painful and everything else, except it's just part of my story. It's part of our journey, right? So I remember coming here, and it was traumatizing for me because my parents didn't bring my older brother and sister right at that time. They only came a few months later because they were still finishing off their year in school. And I remember, driving away with them chasing the taxi. It was not a good parting experience.
Wow.
Then having been here after not knowing anything, living in a place where you're kind of in the country, to living in a 4-room apartment in the city of Newark, not speaking the language, not knowing anybody. It was
You
quite
spoke no English?
none.
How old were you? How old?
I was just turning 6.
Oh my God, dude. Wow.
So then the next year they put me right into 1st grade. So I never had the kindergarten experience. And of course, not speaking English, it was not an easy go. So then my brother and sister came. That made things a little easier. Yet I have an interesting life. I have an interesting childhood only because my father was an immigrant, and he'd been an immigrant for a little while. So he was in France for a year or two, and then he'd come home, and he'd have another kid, and then he'd go, and so you kind of had that going on, and not to get into the psychology behind it. Yet there's a misfire there, or there's a disconnect there with your kids. Really, because you don't have that oxytocin hit that you have. So, we didn't have, unfortunately, my father just never really had that connection with us in that way. And, I understand it's actually a chemical thing as well, not only a psychological thing. Yet, like I said, that's probably a conversation for another day. And I say that because my father was a very violent man. He was particularly verbally and mentally abusive for us our whole life. The supportive words that I heard growing up was that I was stupid and I would never amount to anything. And it was painful. It was a really painful place to grow up. It was a scary place to grow up because home wasn't really a safe space, for what that's worth. So having said that, I mean, listen, there were, and I share this story, and I got to remember to share that there were good moments, right? He did put a roof over our head, and there was food on the table. Yet the what a kid needs most of all, the I love you, the support and everything else, we never had. I think I probably heard it in my 30s finally from him, and even said it in English, even though he doesn't speak very good English, because it was difficult for him to express. So, I was a shy kid up until my 18th birthday. I was a shy kid. I had a handful of friends. I was bullied. I was not in a good place. I was a happy kid whenever I could be. I use humor. I still do, to diffuse situations, I still inject humor in my everyday conversation, because that's how I would kind of make that escape, or try to, control things, or make things better for myself, siblings. So it was just, it was difficult. And I don't want to sit there for too long, because
go back to, I'm curious. I'm not trying to bring up painful memories, but I'm just curious about 1st grade. You didn't speak English, and you said Newark, New Jersey, right?
Newark, New Jersey. Yeah.
And so you didn't speak English. I mean, when did you start speaking English? How did you learn? Because you have no accent at all. Zero. Like, you sound like you're from New Jersey.
Right. Well, I am now, right?
I know, right?
But in fairness, the city of Newark always had a big Portuguese population.
Okay.
So there were other kids in the class that did speak it. The teacher that I had in 1st grade spoke some Portuguese as well, so it made it easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how that went. And and considering that we were not allowed to speak English in the home whatsoever, ever.
What?
Oh, we'd get Yeah, it was not a good experience if we spoke English.
Real we're
Yeah.
that
Yeah. No, it was a painful experience every time we spoke English. So that probably, didn't help the fact, to speed up the language.
yeah.
So like I said, it was it was growing up was interesting. And to the point, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of struggle. Yet again, we'd go to Portugal every 2 years and spend 2-3 weeks there. And, so that was, those are like the good memories, right? Because we'd go back, we'd have freedom that we weren't allowed back where we were. So it was an interesting growing up. Yet, like I said, it was a lot of pain, a lot of, just a lot of heartache. So at 16, I found myself in the basement in the bathroom with a razor blade to my wrist.
Oh, geez.
And, life was just painful, and I wanted to check out. And after pondering and crying a lot, I decided that, I couldn't do that to my mom. Who's going to tell my mom I was dead?
Yeah, right.
I decided at that moment that I wasn't going to let anyone or anything, wasn't going to give anyone or anything the satisfaction of my demise. Right? Because ultimately what happens and this is me at 16, I don't even know how these thoughts came up, but the reality is that the only ones who really hurt are the ones that love you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just giving the satisfaction to that thing, to that problem, to that challenge, to that person that's really making your life miserable.
Yeah.
You're giving them the satisfaction. They win, I lose, and you hurt the people that love you.
You didn't have that thought at 16.
I don't know. Something stopped me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Maybe it was but the thought that I did have is that I wasn't going to give up, and that I wasn't going to. So I did. I did say, I'm not going to let this happen to me. So probably not in the same words that I've just expressed. Obviously, that probably came later. Yet I remember then that I'm like, I'm not going to do that, because who's going to tell her that I'm gone? She doesn't deserve it. Right. So God has a sense of humor.
He does.
So on my 18th birthday, at about 12:30, 12:45, I was in a brown Nissan 280ZX with my cousin, whose birthday was the next day. It was spring break. We were just driving a couple of towns over to the movie theater, and we're on the highway, and a car hits us, just clips us, spins us into a tailspin. We hit the divider, and then finally go into the 4 work vans doing work on the side of the road. And a 4-letter word saved my life. Starts with an F. And it wasn't fear. Because I turned to my cousin, I shouted that out. As I did that, I was ejected from the car. But my hips kept me in the car. So I went out and I came back in, causing severe head and facial trauma. I remember, the only thing I remember is him trying to pry the door open on the other side. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, damn, that shit looks like it hurts, because he had his bone sticking out of his arm, and he had this horror on his face. I didn't know why. And then I don't remember anything else.
What? How did dropping an F-bomb save your life?
Because I just turned to him and I shouted it.
And
I was ejected, and that my hips kept me in the car. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Oh, God.
So then the next thing I remember, I'm looking down at my body in the hospital saying, who's going to tell my mom I'm dead? It was the most painful, it was the most calming, most peaceful moment I've ever had. I wasn't scared. There was no fear. There was no anxiety. There was nothing. It was just peaceful.
Wow.
And I was just thinking, I'm like, man, who's going to tell my mom I'm dead? And I just remember, just hearing voices, but I was just looking down, and I was wrapped up, and I only had, a little bit of one eye showing, because everything else was wrapped up. And then I had the black tunnel white light experience. I don't know how long I was in that place. I had the black tunnel white light experience, and then I just exploded, in a world of pain. And as I'm watching my life go before my eyes, there just wasn't that much to see. So I exploded into a world of pain, and not to go into the fact that I was getting myself out of the gurney because the nurses weren't letting me out. I'm claustrophobic and I'm going crazy. I got to pee. They're not letting me out. Finally, they let me out, walk me to check my neck, make sure that it isn't broken. I walk to the bathroom, and, I'm in there, and I'm walking back, and I just see like a little peephole. I can barely see through it. And of course, what do? I unwrap my head, which is not a good idea, because I went back into shock and my forehead kind of fell over.
Oh, God.
And somebody came back in to get me, I guess, because I don't remember anything else. The result of that, I had about 67 stitches on my face. I had to have, surgery to repair damage. And I still deal with some of the side effects of that, the pain, the memory loss, short-term memory, sometimes I have an issue with. And it was just a difficult moment. And this, I did realize, I was still in high school. That was my senior year of high school. And it was difficult. It was difficult because, again, I remember I was a shy kid. Now here I am with this. My parents had gone on vacation for the first time. They had gone to Portugal to visit and take care of whatever for the first time ever without the kids. My mom called me. That happened on a Monday. On Friday, my mom called and said, "Is everything okay? I had a bad nightmare that something happened to your brother." And we're like, "No, it's fine, Mom. Everything's fine." Of course, he had totaled his BMW underneath the bridge. He had the used BMW he had bought, totaled it under a bridge and didn't get hurt. So he says, "No, Mom, everything's okay."
Wow.
On Monday, I have this massive accident. They're still away. My mom calls again that night. "Is everything okay? I had a bad dream that something bad happened." We said, "No, Mom, everything's okay," because there was nothing they could have come to do. I was only in the hospital for about 2 days, believe it or not, because fortunately there wasn't broken bones. It was damage, but it wasn't anything broken. So I decided shortly thereafter, and this I did decide shortly after that I would have died. I realized that I would have died without having lived. I would have died without ever having tasted life, without ever having experienced life. Right. And I decided if I was going to die tomorrow, man, I'm going to live today. So I finished high school. And as these thoughts are percolating in my mind, I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm going to, I became alive. I died that day in my mind. I didn't flatline. I wasn't technically officially dead, but in my mind, It didn't matter because I saw it. I went through the experience. So I decided that if I was going to die tomorrow, I would live today. So if it went fast, I strapped my ass to it and went, right. Whenever I could at the time, of course, I was 18. There wasn't a whole lot going on. But I was afraid of skydiving. I was afraid of heights. So I started skydiving. I was afraid of deep water. I almost drowned as a kid. So I started scuba diving, even though I didn't know how to swim.
Wow. Right? And this is at 18 years old.
No, that was already at 19 when I can start to rub a couple of nickels together because,
But did you go to college?
Well, I'll get to that in a sec. So I've been working since I was 11, right? Yeah. Since I was 11, what child labor laws. I've had everything from working in the gas station, changing brakes and changing oil to pumping gas to you name it. I've done a bit of it. And so much so that, I know a lot. I can do a lot of things. I can repair a lot of things because also growing up, my father was always fixing something or going to somebody's house and help fix this. And so I was always the kid going around that. So I do owe that to my dad. Of course, I didn't go to college, even though I do say I have a PhD, but that's my public high school diploma. Because I never went to college. And the reason I didn't go to college, I was always told I was too stupid and I would never amount to anything. And I couldn't, I was an idiot and this, that. So I didn't want to set myself up for failure.
Yeah.
So, but at that time I said, maybe I'm going to go to college, but everybody's already signed up. It's already, it's months away. Where am I going? So I decided to get into real estate. And of course my father said, "No, you're not." Says, "You're going to come to work with me." I said, "No, I'm not." He says, "You are." I said, "No, I'm not." And nothing against it, but my father was a laborer working for someone else. Not that there's anything wrong with that, except I've broken my body, a couple of months prior. I've still got pains. My pain still has pains, right?
Right.
And I said, "No, I'm not." So I got into it and he bet me $1,000 that I would fail.
Wow.
He said, "You've got 3 months. If you don't close something in 3 months, you're coming to work with me, whether you like it or not." I said, "No, I'm not." So I took his bet. And I had to have somebody convince him to allow me to do it. And 2 days before those 3 months, I sold, I think it was 247 South Street in Newark, New Jersey. It was a little barbecue restaurant and deli. My first commission was like $737. So I went home like a teenager would. I went to the bank. I put like 20s on the outside singles, and it was like 5 or 6 stacks of cash. And I went and I freaking dropped. He was having dinner, almost fell in his plate. Said, "I'll give me my money." So my first commission was $1,737.
Wow.
I learned something else. I said, "I am not going to quit. You tell me I can't, and I'm going to prove you freaking wrong."
Yep.
So I got my real estate license I think I passed the test on December 27th of 1990. Wow. So I've been doing it for about 31 years. And, I took that and I went on in life wanting to beat him, wanting to make more money than he ever did. And in my early 20s, I accomplished that. Both I had a full-time job and I was doing real estate full-time because, Now, being an entrepreneur, getting in real estate young is commonplace. Back then, I was the only person under 35 in the real estate class. And I was,
right.
So it was not easy. So I held 2 jobs for about 3-4 years until I got into real estate full time. Then I bought my first home when I was 23 years old, I believe. Opened up my first real estate office when I was 24. And fortunately, I've had successes then. But I used that anger as fuel for a long time.
Yeah.
But, I realized that I had to change that. And my life changed again. And I had another realization at 28 when I met Tony Robbins, or I went to a Tony Robbins event, and I learned then so many things, but so much of it was about focus, right? Where our focus goes, our energy flows. So we can choose what we focus on. We can choose to focus on the good, or we can choose to focus on the bad. And the reality of it is, the other thing that I learned that was probably one of the most important parts at that time is that life is happening for us and not to us. And as I look back and I would blame that accident, I would blame God. I said, why, God, why did I have to have that accident? Look what it's done. It's hurt me so bad. My memory, my body, I have pain. I said, I'll give everything not to have had that accident. Why? But then I look back, when I realized that and I had that awakening, I realized that accident didn't come to destroy me, to kill me, to hurt me, to knock me off course. That accident came to adjust my course and put me on the course I'm supposed to be on the whole time. Because I don't know where I would have been. I could have, should have, would have been a statistic. Maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So that accident came to save my life, not to destroy my life. And growing up, I may not have had the father that I deserved and wanted, or the childhood that I deserved and wanted, but I got exactly who I needed and what I needed to be the father that I am today, to be the husband that I am today, to be the man that I am today. I had to have gone through all of those dark moments. I had to have gone through the pain. And still today we grow. We continue to grow. With the betrayals and with the injuries and with the failures and with the mistakes and with the bad deals and with the bad people. So I'm grateful. Today I'm grateful for my father. And, I've forgiven him, and we've made peace, and he's a different man today. Yet I'm grateful for him. One of the things that I learned from Tony Robbins as well is, you've got to blame effectively. So if you're going to blame someone for the bad, you've also got to blame them for the good. I got to blame him for my work ethic. I've got to blame him for always putting a roof over our head and food on the table. I've got to blame him for the risks and challenges that he had to face in order for me to be here today. Because ultimately, as good or bad as it was, I'm standing on his shoulders, right? And on the shoulders of my grandparents and everyone that did whatever they had to do to get us to where we are today. So I'm grateful for it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because I now have more of awareness now more than ever that life is actually happening for us, not to us, preparing us for what it is we say we want to be.
So you said you were 27 or 28 when you went to the Tony Robbins event?
Yeah. About 21 years ago, 27, I guess. 27, 28, somewhere thereabouts.
So, okay. So what was it? What event was it? Do you remember?
Well, the first one I had been to, I'd seen him 2 or 3 years prior, but I was still young, and it was one of those one-day sales events, and he spoke for like an hour, and I took a tidbit from him, that his definition of success, to do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, for as long as I want. Right? That's financial freedom. Yet again, I didn't have the financial freedom or the time to commit to that, as I was just starting a business and everything else. So the first one that I went to was a UPW. So that was really my first real intro. That's where I actually got to learn. Instead of just a sound bites, I actually got to start learning about him. That was a UPW in New Jersey. Okay. And then I went to another one the following year. And then I went to another one. And then and during these times they're saying, well, you got to buy this next program. I'm like, are you kidding me? I got the secret to the universe right here in this. I have to be a while to unpack. Yet then I continued, and I went and I did the Mastery University in Business Mastery and Leadership Mastery and all of that. And then I became a senior leader in his organization. And now for the last 11 years or so, I've been that, and I'm a trainer also now with Tony Robbins. So I get to travel. I used to, when the world was open, hopefully again soon, travel around the world and help thousands of people have those transformations, his events. And I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to do that and to help shift lives. And now I do that on my own, aside from Tony. So it's been a hell of a journey. So
I think we've talked about this. Dragon, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Dragon's my boy. Love
yeah.
that dude.
Yeah.
So, so
Dragon.
you now, so you are that became your full-time job or career, or what happened with the real estate office?
Well, I still run the real estate office. I'm still involved
Oh,
in real estate, except now I'm with EXP. I sold my office, went to one company, then merged that and into that, and then got into another company now. So now I'm with a company called EXP Realty.
okay.
So now I'm, I have people that work with me on the team that we still get things done and represent clients and represent developers and that sort of thing. And I'm building my real estate organization under EXP. So if anybody out there is interested, just drop me a line. We'll talk about it. So I'm still involved at that. I've been an entrepreneur for years. I've usually because I bought the real estate, but I've had everything. I've owned and managed everything from a bar, restaurant, and nightclub to a 44-stall equestrian center with a riding school academy and all of that.
Wow.
Just I've obviously being in real estate, I've bought and sold and flipped many houses, ground up construction. I've owned my own commercial real estate portfolio, which was, one of the biggest risks that I'd taken in my life. Because, first we had a residential portfolio, 1s and 2s and 8 and 10 unit buildings and that sort of thing. And then we wound up getting out of that and all into commercial. So we had office space and warehouse space and that sort of thing. So did that for many years. So I've kind of run the gamut of a lot of different industries, all while being in real estate and running that for all those years, and being in the personal development space and growing in business mastery has been something that's helped me tremendously in that as well, in leadership. So I'm still involved in a lot of different things. I'm currently the chief visionary officer for a little company called Nourish Me. It's a nutraceutical company that is really, really just changing people's lives, because we're radically reducing inflammation and giving people their lives back. And that's certainly something that's shifted my life. So, I was telling you that I live with a degree of pain ever since then.
Yeah.
I can't really say that anymore, because this product that I've been taking has just been kind of amazing. And no, it's not a multi-level marketing thing or anything like that. But if anybody's interested, by all means, I'd be more than happy to share that.
That's awesome, dude.
So doing that, and one-on-one strategy sessions with, I only take a handful of clients a year, just because I'm not the person that works with 30, 40 clients, and I'd rather just work with 7 or 8 clients at a time. With that, because again, I also still running my businesses, and I've got a family and everything else, and so I want to just commit as much as I can. So who I do work with, I do so at a pretty intense level. And then of course we have some masterminds, and I'm speaking on stages and that sort of thing. So it's been a lot of fun.
So you got into the Tony Robbins world. I find that interesting that you ended up, like, really, I mean, not becoming an employee per se, but being a representative of Tony's information and teaching it and living it. Tony changed my life 30 years ago. I don't know. I was 22, I think 21 maybe, when I read Awaken the Giant Within. And I'll never forget him telling the story about flying his jet helicopter over San Diego and stopping and hovering over a building. And he had the realization in that moment that he had been the janitor a mere 10 years prior to that. And that story, and then the rest of the book, talking about NLP and his spin on that, and neuroassociative conditioning. And, I think that it changed my life. And I can remember thinking back then, that's what I want to do. I want to change people. I want people to leave my presence feeling like that. And so, that's when I believe my self-discovery journey began. Along the way for me, Tony, I was an alcoholic, and I was covering up a lot of the same pains that you speak of from childhood. We have some very, very similar stories, by the way. What kind of, for me, I was building multi-million-dollar companies, but I was losing them too, right? I was drinking them away. what kind of did you not face any like challenges in relationships and because of all of these insecurities and these voices, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we all face them.
Yeah, right. So talk about some of that. How did you get through? Because it's not like you and I'm trying to pull this out of you, man. So it's not like you showed up at a Tony Robbins event and the next day everything was rainbows and unicorns.
Right. Well, so listen, by all means, feel free to pull and pick. I'm good. I love unscripted conversations. If you ever hear my show, they're 100% unscripted. Always.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, I don't know what's gonna come out of me next.
Right, right.
The one thing that I've learned is just to trust myself and trust what it is that I do know.
Yeah.
So yeah, by all means, I ask any questions. I'm happy. I'm an open book. Literally. So there's certainly a lot of pain. There's certainly a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of pain along the way. The number one is that you go to an event and you go back home and everybody's like, "The hell are you? What? Oh yeah, look at you. Who do you think you are? Look at you, Mister. A positive this and that." Because there's always going to be people that are around you that are going to poo-poo whatever's going on and they don't believe whatever. And that's fine. Oh, it's some kind of, cult. All right, cool. If it is, I love that Kool-Aid. I'll drink. It's my favorite freaking flavor.
Right.
If that means I'm going to be better and show up as a better version of myself and help other people, then I'm all for it. So the first thing is, the people that you're having the conversations with, that's why it's so important to stay connected with like-minded and like-hearted people. Right. Surround yourself with people that are going to elevate you, that are going to lift you up. And Jim Rohn, of course, Tony's a mentor as well. The phrase that he had is you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I think that is the most pivotally important thing that I continue to change. I continue to upgrade. I continue to adjust. The people in our lives where it's so important. We have our family that we're born to, and then we have our chosen family, those that we choose to spend time with. And something I love to share is that if you look around your circle and the people in your circle aren't inspiring you, aren't pushing you and challenging you to be higher, to get out of your comfort zone, then you don't have a circle at all. You've got a cage. You've got people that are trying to hold you down and keep you down. And here's the thing, a lot of times people are doing that out of love. So maybe it's your mom saying, no, don't do that, don't take the risk, because it's that A, they're projecting their own fears on you, but B, they're trying to protect you from hurting yourself or from you suffering a pain that they fear, right? So they'll try to hold you down, maybe at some points even sabotage you for that. Then there's the other people that do that out of fear of losing you. Well, if he grows too big, then I'm not going to be able to hang out with him. I don't want to lose that person. So, they'll try to sabotage you with their words and maybe sometimes even their actions. And then, of course, you always have the other people that are just looking to knock you down just because, the tall poppy syndrome. They don't want anyone being taller than them. They want you to succeed, just not better than them. So just make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. That's number one. And number two, it really is about doing that inner work and understanding why it is that you say and do and react to things the way you do. Because once you can figure out why is it that you say and do and react the way you do, then it's easier to understand why other people do and act and say what they do, right? So you can better correlate that, like that whole conversation I was having in the beginning with my father. I realized that he didn't have that time with us as children. I understand that he didn't have that shot of oxytocin that moms get throughout the pregnancy that, doesn't matter what that baby looks like. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. Well, while it may be true or not, it is to the mother, right? So they have that heavy shot of oxytocin, the dads get it as well. So anyway, not to go back into that story, but understanding why, and sometimes the mechanics or the chemistry behind or the psychology behind why people do what they do, and that, hurt people, as we've heard say so many times. Understanding that you can look a little deeper and understand why it is that people do what they do. And you can have maybe a little more empathy to understand that reaction or the way that they're treating you or the way that they're acting is because of a past trauma or whatever may have been going on in the background. So I think that doing that inner work is super important. That's why I kept going back to the Tony events, even though people are saying, why are you doing that? And then I'd go, I'd be listening to Wayne Dyer. I'd be listening to Jim Rohn, or, more recently with Brendan Burchard, and, all of these great speakers, and Zig Ziglar, and reading the books. Why are you doing that? I said, because this is me sharpening my skills and filling my bucket, right? Because we need to have that. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. I recognize that. And I didn't want to be just another brick in the wall, right? I didn't want to be just another grunt. I didn't want to be just somebody that's surviving through life, because life isn't to be survived. It's to be thrived, experienced, tasted, lived. Because most people just survive, right? They're just living their day by day by day, and they're not really living, right? There's that saying that so many people die at 25 and only get buried at 75 and live the same year over and over again, because they've gotten stuck on whatever trauma or whatever bullshit story they're telling themselves, or somebody else pre-programmed them with, that they're not good enough, that they're too stupid, they'll never amount to anything, they'll serve for nothing more than a mat for people to wipe their feet. And God knows I've heard that time and time again growing up. So it's about making that shift and helping people grow through what they go through. Hence that name, right? That hashtag that you see me use all the time.
Yeah. Do you know Taylor Thompson and Larry?
The name is familiar. Hold on, let me put my specs on.
Larry is the co-founder of Herbalife. Taylor is his wife, and Larry was really good friends with Jim Rohn. He spoke at Jim's funeral. Yeah. So
and Don Hobbs and Tony Robbins, and they all worked. They all actually, Don Hobbs, Tony Robbins, and I guess Taylor also worked with Tony at the time. I guess, I don't even know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was. I see Taylor saying, most people believe they're not good enough. Absolutely. So the reality of it is, we're all more than good enough. We're all more than worthy. We're all a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. And if you think about just the word masterpiece, maybe that's just because we're a piece of the master, right? We all have a little bit inside of us.
Amen.
Soul is a little bit of that universe. 54 years ago. Wow, Taylor.
Yeah. Well, Larry, her husband, and Jim Rohn were both distributors in the same company. They worked together. They became really good friends. But so let me ask you a question. So I have a feeling that you and I are very close to the same age. I'll be 53 in July. I think you're probably a little younger than me, but yeah. But so it sounds like around 30 years old, you started immersing yourself into the Tony Robbins and the self-help and growth and all of that. Do you feel like, or do you recall, was there a moment, because Grant Cardone's a good buddy of mine too, and Grant talks about that a lot, like make sure that whoever is in your inner circle, that they actually belong there, that they're not doing the whole crabs in a bucket thing, and because they can be very covert sometimes in the way they try to hold you down or bring you down to their level. Do you feel like there was a moment in your life in that period where you were like, the light switch came on, you're like, holy crap, I'm surrounded by a bunch of idiots and I need to or
it's funny that you say that, because there was, and it actually wasn't that long ago. Again, I've been doing this over and over again. And, I say this, that's to your point, to Grant's point of what he says, is that, so many people are afraid to rock the boat.
Yeah.
But I say that you've got to rock the boat, and those who fall out aren't supposed to be in your goddamn boat anyway.
Right.
That's the reality, because you're rowing and you're looking back, you think they're rowing. They're actually, they quietly got a hand drill and they're drilling a hole in the bottom of your goddamn boat, right? And when you turn around, they grab the oar again. No, I'm rowing. Meantime, they're drilling a hole in your boat. So there's always going to be people that are going to be in your life like that. And you just got to watch for them. You've got to understand. Here's something. If somebody shows you who they are, freaking believe them. Believe them, because that's so much of what has happened in my life, because I am loyal to a fault. And that's hurt me in the past. But it hasn't changed me. I'm still loyal. I'm not going to let I'm not going to become a bad person because of bad people, you know? And so throughout my life, I've rocked the boat. I've shaken people loose. I've walked away. I don't necessarily have, I don't always have a fight. Sometimes I just walk away and just walk away. And then all of a sudden people just don't have the same level of contact with me. And Tony, I haven't seen or heard from you. Well, yeah, I know. You know, what are you gonna do? Unfortunately, that happens. And I hate to do that. Yet sometimes you've got to spend less time with toxic people, right? Because toxicity, like anything else, will kill you. Yeah. You know, you go to the doctor to have an x-ray. You know, they don't just sit in there as you're chit-chatting and just turn the button on and leave it in for 20 minutes and then turn it off, right? It's just for a split second, and then they cover you with lead and they go behind a lead wall. Well, having toxic relationships and toxic people in your life are the same way. You know, in short bursts, it's not going to kill you, but prolonged exposure will. It'll kill your dreams. It'll kill your hopes. It'll kill, you know, your goals of where it is that you're going to go, because they're going to talk down. They're going to be negative. So spend less time with negative people and surround yourself with those that do. We've got to remember that we are the CEOs of our life, right? Yep. We've got to fire, hire, promote, and demote accordingly, because we're all responsible. You know, talking about Clubhouse, you know, we always say that, you know, follow whoever speaks to you, because you're always curated by the people that you follow, this and that. And if you're and I add to that, say, if you find yourself in the wrong rooms, you've got to go to your friend list and you've got to edit it. And the same thing is true in life. If you find yourself in the wrong rooms, in the wrong situations, you've got to look at your friend list and you've got to edit it, right? You've got to take people out. And sometimes those people that are negative are family members. Maybe it's mom, maybe it's dad, maybe it's your sibling. And that doesn't mean, okay, well, cut them out. Maybe it does, depending on what the severity of it is. Yet we can choose to spend less time in those negative places. You know, you go there, you try to lift them up, do what you can, then you walk away, right? For your own mental health, because you've got to make sure that you're taking care of you. Because I've realized that making me happy is my number one job. Because when I'm happy, that means that nobody around me is suffering. That means I've done what I could for as many people as I could around me, right? And I know that it's impossible to make everybody happy. So why not do that? Why not work on me? Otherwise, you're just miserable trying to make everybody else happy. And I know this, and you may have heard me say this before, is that, I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know that, but that's okay, because a lot of people drink coffee.
That's right. Yeah. Dude, I think that, I'm really curious, like what age, when things really started to, because look, this is about breaking through walls, right? This whole show's about how to have a breakthrough in life, and where did it all shift for you? Was it your first event that you went to with Tony, second, third? When did it shift?
There's a shift every time, but I'm gonna tell you another brief story. Because again, we keep learning, we keep growing, we keep falling, we keep getting up. This hashtag get up and grow, I didn't find it, it found me. I got a call. So about 7 years ago, I had a business partner. We were friends since we were 8 years old. And he was a business partner of mine for 25 years. We did everything together. The only thing we didn't own together was our individual houses. Everything else, we owned everything together. And let's just say that there was infidelities and divorce and whatever. And then at some point, he came after me and my family, and really just turned my life upside down. And it was September 24th of 2014 at 12:45 in the afternoon. And I remember that because I'll never forget that date in my life, because it was a pivotal point in my life, because so much changed that day. Now, you ask, were there pivotal points? Absolutely, in my life. That pivotal point when I was 16 with the razor blade at 20 years old. The next pivotal point was when I closed on that deal, and I had that realization. The next pivotal point was meeting Tony Robbins. And then I've had many successes and I've had many failures throughout my life, and there have been a lot of painful moments and everything else. Yet the one that came to really rock my world was in 2014, where my life, but thank God my wife is an angel. She's, I'm one of the biggest blessings in my life and the best mom I could ever imagine for my kids. But my life turned upside down on that day because I was completely taken aback. I did not see it coming. I'm the person that fixes things and helps people fix their business, their life, their relationship. So when this came apart, I'm like, well, I can fix this. Little did I know that I couldn't. And I spent 9 months trying to fix it. And he spent 9 months setting up the dominoes, and probably a few months prior to that. So I went from being very comfortable to, holy shit, I'm about as uncomfortable as I can possibly get in my life.
Wow.
A lot of pain, a lot of agony, a lot of defeat, a lot of struggle. And now I'm just going to tell you about Get Up and Grow. So I had a friend of mine call me about 2 years into that, and he knew some of the things that I was going through. Nobody knew what I was going through outside of a very close circle.
Yeah.
And while through all this, I was still going to Tony Robbins events, and I was a senior leader. Actually, I became trainer during that time. And I kept going through those because, again, I was sharpening my tools. I was filling my bucket. I was improving myself. And literally, Tony Robbins probably saved my life, in many ways, and my relationship and my sanity. Because when you're going through difficult moments, life is hard. So this friend calls me. It's about 10:30 at night, and he never calls me at that time. I always speak to him in the morning when he's going through his struggle, because I've been coaching people even for free before I started becoming a professional. I've been doing this for years, right? I mean, I've been immersed in the material for years, except I would just do it for free. So he calls me up. He says, Tony, and he starts getting into a story. And I said, dude, stop. Are you sharing your story, or are you just repeating mine? He says, that's why I'm calling you. How the hell are you so positive? And at that time, I was doing daily videos in the morning, or almost daily videos of inspiration, because I needed to get these ideas out of my head. I needed to talk through, so I would pick a word, I would pick a quote, and I would go into it. I would dissect it, and in a minute or 60 seconds or 120 seconds, whatever, I do these things to inspire. I post inspirational quotes because I need those for me. So he said, how do you do it? I said, how do I do it? I have to do it. There's no way. It's a muscle. I've got to do it every day. Otherwise, I'm going to go down that deep, dark hole that none of us want to go into. He said, but how did you do it? I said, well, let me tell you something. And I guess it was 2 years prior. I said, everything was fine. I was comfortable. I wasn't really growing, but I was comfortable. I was making enough money. I was comfortable. And all of a sudden, boom, I got hit by a truck, and God said, grow. And I said, no. And I said, no. So I felt the pain. And then the next day, more pain. And God said, grow. And I said, no. And God said, grow. And I said, no. And I said this a bunch of times, which is strange because I don't usually bring that into my coaching or strategy sessions, but something compelled me to do that. And at some point, my son interrupted, says, good night, Dad, going to bed. I said, okay, son, good night. Don't forget to brush your teeth. And I come back on the call, and he says, dude, keep reading. I said, reading what? Whatever you were reading, keep reading. I said, dude, not only was I not reading, but I'm not even sure what we were talking about, because I completely lost the thread of the conversation. So he told me about it. I picked it up again. And I kind of went to, God said, grow. And I said, no. And then there was a point when I was in Brazil for a wedding, and all of a sudden I realized, no, I can't fix this. I can't fix this. This is real. I've got to go back, and I've got to fight. And that moment that I came to the realization that I couldn't fix it, and I grew, the pain went away. The pain went away, which was amazing.
Wow.
So for about a month, until, of course, he filed some other frivolous lawsuit, and every complaint that he would make was actually things that he had done that now he was accusing me of. So, and boom, God said, grow. And I said, no. And God said, grow. And I said, no. And I kind of went on through this, and afterwards, we wrapped it up because it was something that he had to grow through that he wasn't seeing. And, he thanked me. And the next day I had to call him to have him go back with me to what it was that the conversation that was had. And it was pretty amazing, pretty inspiring. And it wasn't until 2 months later that I'm sharing that story with somebody else that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Well, the words came through me. I didn't realize that message was meant for me. I was saying the words, but I wasn't listening.
Wow.
I was in pain because God said grow, and I said no. And we have to grow through what we go through, or we keep going through it. Right?
Yep.
Because we all fall, and so all of us just get up and go. But what we need to do is we need to get up and grow. We need to learn from our falls. So when we fall, we learn. When we get up, we grow. And every single time we fall, we have the opportunity to get up and grow. And since that time, 2 months after that conversation, I've been using hashtag Get Up and Grow, because that's what I need to do each and every day. And so I'm here to help people get up and grow through what they're going through, what they've gone through, to help turn their decades into days, so that they don't have to suffer as long as I did with those mistakes of the past.
That's awesome, dude.
So that was a shift. And during that time, when that first happened, this guy turned a lot of people on me with lies and manipulation, whatever else. So I saw the people fall out of my boat. I'm like, all right, keep falling, because those who are meant to stay in the boat with me are here. And
That's
it's important when you fall. I'm gonna have to. Well, I don't know how much more time we have, because this is another learning moment.
We're down to a couple of minutes left, actually. I unfortunately, but we can always do another show, dude.
Yeah. So I'll just say this because this ties into that. So many times we're tripping on things that are behind us, things that we have no business tripping on, but it's that memory, that shit that keeps holding us down, that anchor, that chain that we're dragging around, these balls, and so we wind up tripping on shit that happened in the past. So here's the thing, I invite everyone to be that forensic scientist, or the forensic pathologist, so to speak, of your problems, of your fall. When you fall, imagine like when you ever have a car accident, everything's kind of in slow motion. It only took a second or two, but it feels like it went on for a couple of minutes. So I want you to go back and just try to analyze your last fall, the last big mistake, the last big failure. You got to ask yourself, what made me fall? Was I tripped? Was I pushed? Did I slip? Was I tripping on something behind me? And on your way down, as you're falling, was there someone there to try to catch you and help you? Who was laughing? Who was at your table just before you tripped? And then when you fell, was there someone down there to catch you? How long were you there? And perhaps when we fall, it's because there's something down there we're supposed to find. So was there someone down there inspiring you to get up, to help you up? And when you finally got up and you walked to the other side of the hole and you started climbing, who was there trying to give you a hand to lift you up, or to pull you up, or drop you a rope? Who was there trying to step on your fingers and throwing dirt in your face to keep you down, laughing at you, saying you should have ever been there in the first place? And then you climb up, who was clapping for you and who was laughing at you? And then when you get to the top, who tried to come back to your table? So there's so much to be learned from our failures and from our mistakes. So again, it's about getting up and growing through what we go through, so we stop going through it.
That's awesome, dude. Let me ask you this, and I have to go. I apologize, but I have a hard stop 5 minutes ago. So it's all good. So first off, thank you for coming on and sharing your heart. You're a good dude, man. I've spent a lot of time with you on Clubhouse, and you're incredible. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Second, where's a good, the best place for people to follow you? Do you have a website that
you just go, if you just hashtag Get Up and Grow the way you see it, just get up the letter N grow in your search bar, you'll find, I didn't know this until about 2 months ago. When you type that in, what you get is me. So if you go to www.getup.com, you can go, just a little bit about me. There's a site being built behind that. Unfortunately, right now that's a temporary, but you can set up a quick 15-minute call with me to see if it's something that you and I align with, and you'd like to work with me. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm Tony Rodriguez with an S, Tony Rodriguez 2.0, because I'm at least on version 2 of my life, right? And certainly you can just type in my name on Facebook, and or if you could just go at Tony Rodriguez NJ, I believe is what it is on Facebook, you'll be able to find me. So
Tony Rodriguez, you are the man, the myth, the legend. I appreciate you being on here, sharing your story, and I want to have you come back on, and we'll go through some more stuff. Maybe some evening we'll do a live stream together.
I'd love to. I love your shows. I love how you show up, and
thank you, dude.
What you're doing. So I love it. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Yeah. So everybody go follow Tony. Go to I'm on the website. It's getupandgrow.com. That's amazing, dude. So thank you. I appreciate you. Stay with me, and I'm going to end this, but thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you everyone for being here and watching and listening.